Wait, she didn't tell you. My mother-in-law's face went completely ghost white, her hand clutching her chest like she couldn't breathe, staring at her son in absolute horror. My ex-husband, Ethan, was standing in her living room, smirking, holding ultrasound pictures of twins. He thought he was about to brag about how he got my own sister pregnant after 10 years of us trying for a baby. He had no idea that while he was out celebrating his betrayal, I had already quietly packed my bags, signed the divorce papers, and handed over a legal surprise that was about to ruin his life. Look, if there is one thing that absolute trash partners fail to realize, it's that silence is way more dangerous than screaming. Ethan thought because I didn't shed a single tear when he dropped the bombshell, that I was just defeated. He thought he was winning the ultimate prize. He had no clue that his own mother was the one holding the missing piece of the puzzle that would crash his entire world. Okay, so, let me back up for a second, because to understand how insane this betrayal was, you have to know what we went through. If you're new here, subscribe. I post a new story every day. For 10 long years, Ethan and I tried everything to start a family. 10 years of negative tests, expensive doctor visits, tears, and emotional exhaustion. I thought our shared heartbreak was making our bond unbreakable, but behind my back, Ethan was building a secret relationship with my younger sister, Maya. Maya was always jealous of my life, but I never dreamed she would cross a line like this. One Sunday afternoon, Ethan walked into our kitchen, sat across from me, and didn't even look ashamed. He shoved a sonogram printout across the table and said, "Maya is pregnant. It's twins. I'm leaving you so I can be a real father." Now here's where I'd have lost it. He actually expected me to scream, cry, or beg him to stay. Instead, a strange, ice-cold calm washed over me. I looked at the ultrasound, looked up at his smug face, and simply said, "Okay. I'll have the papers ready by tomorrow." He was completely stunned by how easy it was. He thought I was just in shock. That night, while he stayed over at Maya's apartment, I didn't waste a second. I didn't just call a divorce lawyer, I called his mother, Evelyn. Evelyn and I had always been incredibly close, far closer than she was with Ethan, mainly because she knew how irresponsible and entitled her son could be. When I told Evelyn what Ethan and Maya had done, she wept on the phone, apologizing for her son's unbelievable cruelty. That's when I told Evelyn my plan, and she didn't just agree to it, she gave me the master key. You see, 3 years prior, Ethan had asked his mother for a huge financial favor. He wanted to buy into a commercial real estate property, but his credit was terrible, so Evelyn put up the title to her own home as collateral for a $300,000 business loan under one strict condition. Ethan had to keep me as the sole 50% legal co-owner and guarantor of his company, because Evelyn only trusted my financial management. Ethan had completely forgotten about that clause. He assumed the business was 100% his. I spent the next 24 hours working with my attorney. Because Ethan had committed adultery and attempted to conceal marital business assets, I exercised my legal right as co-owner to immediately liquidate my half of the commercial estate and transfer full liability of the remaining debt directly into his name. And as for his mother's collateral, Evelyn officially revoked her property backing that very morning due to his default on their private contract terms. I signed the divorce decree, left the papers neatly on the kitchen counter alongside a copy of the asset liquidation notice, and walked out of the house forever. Would you have been able to stay completely silent and execute a quiet plan like that, or would you have lost your temper right on the spot? Let me know in the comments below. An hour later, Ethan strutted into his mother's house, holding a bottle of champagne and those twin ultrasound photos. He was ready to announce that he was leaving his barren wife to start a fresh, wealthy life with Maya. He walked into Evelyn's living room, smiling from ear to ear, and said, "Mom, toast with me. Maya's having twins, and I'm finally getting the family I deserve." I left the divorce papers for my ex on the counter. Evelyn was sitting in her armchair, her hands folded, looking at him with utter disgust. She didn't smile. She didn't stand up. She just looked at him and said, "Wait, she didn't tell you." Ethan's smirk faded a little. "Tell me what?" She gave up without a fight. "She's moving out." Evelyn stood up, her face turning pale with rage and disappointment, and pulled out a stack of legal documents from her side table. She didn't give up, Ethan. She liquidated her share of your business this morning. The bank just processed the call on your commercial loan. Wait, read that part again in your head, because the look on his face must have been pure horror. Ethan's jaw dropped. What? She can't do that. That's my business. It was your shared business, Evelyn replied coldly. And since I pulled my house off as your collateral 20 minutes ago, the bank is calling the entire $300,000 balance due in 30 days. Ethan began hyperventilating, pulling out his phone frantically trying to call me. My number was already blocked. He called his bank manager, who confirmed that without my credit rating and without his mother's collateral, his business was officially insolvent. He turned to his mom, screaming, "Why would you do this to me? Maya is carrying your grandchildren." Evelyn looked him straight in the eyes and said, "You betrayed a good woman who stood by you for 10 years, and you did it with her own sister. You didn't just ruin your marriage, Ethan. You ruined your future. Don't ever ask me for a cent again. Is there any karma sweeter than a mother stepping up to put her own greedy, cheating son in his place? Drop your thoughts below. I'll be honest, I didn't expect what came next, but the dominoes kept falling fast. When Ethan ran back to Maya's place to tell her the good news, the fantasy immediately shattered. Maya wasn't interested in being with a man who was facing total bankruptcy and $300,000 in immediate debt. The moment she realized there was no luxury house, no successful business, and no easy money, the arguments started. Within 2 weeks, Maya realized she was stuck raising twins with a man who had to move into a tiny one-bedroom apartment and take an entry-level job just to cover basic child support and debt repayments. My sister tried texting me from a burner number, begging me to talk to the lawyers and fix the financial situation for the sake of her unborn kids. I didn't even reply. I just forwarded the screenshot to my attorney and kept moving forward. Today, 6 months later, my divorce is completely final. I took my half of the liquidated business assets and started fresh in a new city, peaceful, debt-free, and surrounded by people who actually care about me. Evelyn still calls me every Sunday for coffee, and we never even mention Ethan's name. Looking back, it's crazy how people like Ethan and Maya think they can build their own happiness on top of someone else's heartbreak. They thought they were taking everything from me, but in reality, they just exposed their own greed and handed me my freedom on a silver platter. Silence really is the ultimate revenge. Because when you don't waste your energy fighting trash, you let them destroy themselves. What do you think about how Evelyn handled her son? Did Ethan and Maya get what they deserved, or was pulling the financial backing too harsh? Drop your verdict in the comments section below. If you love this story, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. I post a brand new narrative every single day. See you tomorrow. Wait, let's pause right there, because you have to realize just how fast a liar's entire reality crumbles when they realize they can't manipulate you anymore. Ethan didn't just stand in his mother's living room staring at his phone, he actually drove straight to my apartment building like a maniac. He was pounding on the front door of the place we used to share, screaming my name, completely oblivious to the neighbors looking out their windows. He was yelling, "You can't do this to me. You ruined my life. You orchestrated this whole thing with my mother." Asterisk. Now here's where I'd have lost it if I hadn't already made up my mind to stay dead silent. He actually believed I was the villain in this story. He genuinely convinced himself that after 10 years of marriage, cheating with my sister and bragging about twins wasn't the issue, but me protecting my own financial sanity was an attack on him. I didn't open the door. I didn't even yell back. I simply pulled out my phone, dialed the building security manager, and had them escort him off the property for trespassing. Watching him get walked out by security from my third-floor window was the exact moment I realized he was never a strong, powerful businessman, he was just a boy living off borrowed money and unearned confidence. The very next morning, the financial reality hit his fake empire like a freight train. Because Evelyn officially revoked her property collateral, the bank didn't just request a review, they sent a formal 30-day demand letter for the full principal of the $300,000 commercial loan. Ethan's real estate venture was built on a house of cards. He had taken out secondary high-interest lines of credit assuming my income and high credit score would backstop his business when the payments came due. With my legal withdrawal finalized by my attorney, the lenders immediately froze his business operating accounts. His partners in the venture, who had no idea he was running the company on leveraged family debt, held an emergency board meeting that afternoon. When they found out his mother had pulled her home title and his wife had liquidated her 50% equity, they voted unanimously to remove him as managing partner to save the company from bankruptcy. In less than 48 hours, Ethan went from a smug guy planning a luxury lifestyle to being completely unemployed, ousted from his own company, and facing hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. Have you ever seen someone lose literally everything in a matter of days because of their own ego? Let me know in the comments below. And if you think things were chaotic for Ethan, wait until you hear what was going on over at Maya's apartment. Maya had built this entire grand fantasy in her head. She thought she was stealing the wealthy husband, that she was going to move into a giant suburban house, quit her job, and be showered with gifts while raising twins. When Ethan showed up at her door with 3 trash bags full of his clothes, no job, and a frozen bank account, the illusion didn't just crack, it shattered into a million pieces. She wouldn't even let him bring his bags past the hallway at first. She kept asking him, "What do you mean the bank froze your cards? What do you mean your mom took back the house title? Fix it." Ethan tried to explain that without me, he couldn't hold the loan, and Maya exploded. She called him a fraud, accused him of tricking her, and demanded to know why he hadn't secured his assets before telling me about the pregnancy. I mean, the utter irony of 2 people who built a relationship on deceit turning around and accusing each other of being deceitful is top-tier comedy. Maya actually had the nerve to call our parents, crying and playing the victim, claiming that I was trying to make her unborn children homeless. She told our mom, "She's doing this out of spite. She's ruining Ethan's business just so my babies won't have a good life." Would you ever forgive a family member who betrayed you like that and then tried to play the victim to your own parents? Drop a comment below. I'll be honest, I didn't expect what came next from my own parents. Normally, family stories like this end with parents taking sides or trying to force everyone to make peace for the sake of the babies. But when my mother heard what Maya said, she shut it down instantly. My mom looked Maya dead in the eye and said, "Your sister didn't ruin your life, Maya. You ruined your own life the second you laid a finger on her husband. Don't you dare blame her for the consequences of your own disgusting choices." My parents locked their doors, refused to give Ethan or Maya a single dime of financial help, and completely cut ties with Maya until she takes full accountability. With nowhere left to turn, Ethan had to use the absolute last of his personal savings to rent a tiny, dingy, 1-bedroom basement apartment across town. Instead of moving into a dream mansion, Maya had to pack up her stuff and move into that cramped basement unit with him. 2 people who hated each other's guts, stuck together in a tiny space with 2 newborn cribs on the way, completely broke, and drowning in legal notices. Every single morning when Ethan wakes up to go to his low-paying manager job at a local car rental agency, he gets to look at the life he chose. He traded 10 years of loyalty, peace, wealth, and genuine love for a lifetime of regret, debt, and constant screaming matches. And as for me, I didn't lose a single night of sleep.